In the past 2 months, we've made about $61 in gross revenue through itch.io, and we've made another $0 through selling our assets through the Unity Asset Store. If this was all you came for, please give us a like or something and then go on with your day. For those who don't know, about 2 months ago, we made this video about our game that we were working on back then, Songs of Everjade, not really performing how we expected it. And we were like, is this worth continuing? And we ended up with the answer being no. If you're not sure what it's about, Songs of Everjade was like a 2D roguelite set in Chinese mythology, and we'd spent a few months of work on it and we got a whole bunch of art commissioned on it. And we're like, okay, well, if we're gonna drop development, which we did, how do we still get something out of it? And an idea we had there is, okay, we got some art commissioned, like these tile sets that you're looking at, not the character, and then also the different icons for the items in the game. All of them are like kind of bespoke because, you know, there's no generic Asian fantasy assets. There's plenty of like medieval fantasy and whatnot, but not really for that Chinese focus. And we figured, hey, the stuff that we had commissioned, it doesn't look too bad. So what we did is we actually turned to itch.io and created 3 different asset packs. The first one was 2 songs that we got custom commissioned through Fiverr. Then the second one was all of the environment tile sets, basically like our rocks, our grass, our water, our bridges and everything like that. And then the third one was just purely our icons in terms of like the different icons you could have in game for the items. These were all like very Chinese focused, as you can see, and not like the most generic stuff really. So we figured, hey, let's turn these into standalone assets. And that is how we got to those numbers. I think it took us about a day or 2 to get everything set up in terms of creating the assets, to put them on itch.io. And then up until now, I think it's been about 2 months at this point, we've made $61 in gross revenue. Now there goes a bunch of money goes away still because we have to pay taxes. And I think we're also giving itch.io 10%. You can configure it yourself, but I mean like 10% is fine for me. So let's say, I think at the end of the day, we've gotten about $40–45 from selling our assets. We're definitely nowhere near break even. And this was a video as well that I felt like I didn't want to make it first because I kind of think this is boring. But on the other hand, I think there's some interesting stuff in here as well. Like for example, how Unity, the Unity Asset Store, I had high hopes for this, to be honest. And they have just been crushed completely. So I want to talk a bit about that as well. As for the individual sales, by far the most popular one is our Chinese garden tile set, which has 6 purchases and they're priced at $7 each. Then our items, we had 2 sales, so that was $10. And then our Chinese game music, this one we actually put out for free because I felt like 2 songs, that is not enough to charge money for, because you can get like 100 pieces of music, even more, on the asset store for like $20 or something. So trying to charge money, I feel like wouldn't have made us that much money. I was like, hey, let's just make it for free and let's get it as like a lead magnet. Maybe someone who's looking for Chinese stuff goes to our profile and is like, hey, actually, this is something interesting. They come for the music and they watch the other assets we have. But we did allow the option for donations, which is why we got $1 in gross revenue from our music. One kind soul donated a single dollar. And then the last thing we did for itch.io is we also did a sale, a spring sale bundle, where you could get both of the assets combined for like a reduced price. One person bought this. I don't know what I was expecting here, honestly. I'll link these assets, of course, down below as well. So that's the itch.io stuff, but it's actually the Unity stuff that I want to talk a bit more, because this one, honestly, I am not a Unity insider. I can tell you that now. I'm pretty sure Unity has blacklisted me as well after the video I made about Unity Unite, but I think the Unity Asset Store and the Unity Publisher Portal is absolute garbage for multiple reasons. The first one is simply the process of getting your asset approved. Like on itch.io, you can just create something and you put it on there, and 2 minutes later it's in there and it's great. Also, I really like how itch.io actually, you know, you can see where's your traffic coming from, and we actually had traffic to begin with. Like if we're gonna take a look at the Chinese game music, you can see like where are they coming from, and a lot of them is from actual people who are like looking up these tags. And there's also, back when we originally launched, especially those first few days, we had quite a lot of sales and downloads. That's this graph you can see here. You can ignore this one. This was our Guild Architect playtest. This is data you shouldn't look at, but like this is the amount of views and then also the number of downloads. Like downloads generally meant sales for the most part, that we had on a weekly basis. It's like the first week was really good because itch.io really pushed our assets for us, really. We didn't even have to do much. We had like a bunch of sales come in. I think we made $20 in the first like week or something. I know, doesn't sound like much, but compared to Unity with their $0, it's still a lot better. Even in terms of just general page views, itch.io has done way better. And honestly, the fact that we haven't sold anything through the Unity Asset Store, that's not even my biggest gripe. The first issue is just getting your stuff on the Unity Asset Store. So they have this great like quick start of like, oh, you get a lot of Asset Store users and you can earn money and whatever. It's a great sales pitch. And it's like, oh, it's very easy to get started. And it is very easy to get started. But getting actually like taking your package and going through the entire process of getting it approved, in their tutorial, they say it's like 3 to 5 business days. But because Unity is currently like kind of in the gutter and has fired, I feel, everyone except one poor guy who has to manually approve everything, we had to wait about 6 or 7 weeks between submitting our asset and it actually being released on the asset store. That's why this video also took so long. We've been working on this since basically February. You can see that here. February 19th is when we started with the assets on itch.io, because there it's easy to put on it. For Unity, on the other hand, it's like April 8th and April 10th, which was a crazy long time that you just have to sit around and wait. And that's also just time that you're not earning anything regardless. That's the first thing I don't like. The second one is something that I actually only found out when I was preparing for this video. And that is that our pricing is the same between itch.io and Unity. Like, that's what we configured here. Or that's what you would think, because I don't get Unity, but they actually charge more. If I go here to our creator page where all of our assets are listed, you can see, okay, we have the 3 assets, similar as to what we have here. Perfect. These other 2, Event Forge and Safeguard, don't listen to them right now. But then suddenly this is $8.79 and this is $5.49. Wait, that's not what I configured here. I could find no documentation about this, but it seems like Unity is just upcharging for some reason, without telling me anywhere why that is. I think that's not something you should do. When I configure a price and you approve that price, let me actually use that price. I don't get it. It's kind of frustrating, honestly. I don't know the reason for this, but it's very unclearly communicated. And then of course we get to the matter of they have no visibility, or they don't give us much visibility, because to be honest, 85 page views as well over about a month time, that is not much. We have better statistics from itch.io, and I would actually expect Unity to be bigger in terms of the asset store compared to itch.io. Because you also need to keep in mind, by default, itch.io charges a 10% cut for any sales that they do, which you can actually configure down to 0 if you're like, hey, no, actually, I want to take everything for myself. That is something itch.io allows you to do it. It's very free. Whereas Unity takes 30%, the industry standard, same as Steam does, for example. And Steam gets a bunch of shit sometimes for, hey, 30% is a lot, but honestly, I think Steam is worth it, because Steam, there you get a lot of visibility, you get a lot of tools like the Steamworks, you get the achievements and whatever. I think that is worth it. Whereas here, I have no clue why I would want to pay Unity 30% of, I mean, nothing at this point, but still for them to take multiple weeks to approve a single asset. They're not transparent in their pricing, and their analytics in terms of how many views we're getting is not even better than itch.io. So not the biggest fan of that. We were actually planning on making 2 more Unity related assets from our event system and our save system that we wrote, which are pretty cool things if you ask me. But going through the process of waiting another 8 weeks for them to approve our assets, it's just not a priority for us right now. Now, for the people who are like wondering like, hey, how do I make my own assets? I'll give you a very quick rundown of the high level concept. First thing you have to do is you have to start a Unity project. This is if you want to export the like .asset store file. If you just want to do purely the PNGs and only on itch.io, you can skip this. All you need to do is you create a blank project. In there you make a folder with your studio name, then one with your asset name. And in there you have to make a few folders. Especially the demo one is one that you need to have, and then the about page. And the other stuff, like for example our prefabs, that is where you actually put all of your various sprites and whatnot. We also here have one with the blank sprite sheets from E.S.P and stuff like that. You can choose that, it depends on if you're doing 2D, 3D or whatever. Important thing is you have a demo scene here, which just showcases your assets, showcases everything. This is important to have. If you don't have this, Unity won't approve you. But other than that, like, you need an about, which is also very easy. But other than that, this is everything. Then you have up here, you have the asset store tools, and you can just go through like their uploader and validator, and that's it. In terms of how does it look for itch.io, we'll once again just have 2 folders with the A-Sprite files, and then also with the regular sprite sheets all in it, and that is everything we need to do there. You just zip all of this up, and you send it to itch, and that's the asset. It's really easy to do, so that's why I figured, hey, this is something that you can consider, because a lot of game developers, they come to me and they're like, hey Marnix, I'm working on my game or whatever, but I'm not earning any money anytime soon. How about I sell some assets in the meantime to see if I can earn an extra buck, but then I can just point you at this, $61. It doesn't really make sense, I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just because our art is bad. Hey, that's probably what you're going to be commenting now. But I think definitely, once again, it's the tempering expectations. I was expecting more, especially from the Unity asset store. Like itch.io, I'm honestly kind of happy with. Itch.io is kind of what I expected, but Unity especially was not really what I was looking for. So I hope this gave you a bit more insight into how does the asset store thing work. If you do have like some previous game assets that you did create and you're like, hey, this is quality enough that I can actually sell it, I think definitely put them on itch.io. There's nothing you can lose, because especially itch.io is pretty easy to do, but I would never bank on it, on that becoming your main income source. Maybe if you're a very talented 3D artist, there's more demand for it, but I feel like our assets aren't that horrible in terms of like the price and what you get from it. Anyways, that's all I really had to say. Kind of a bit of a different video. I hope this gives you some more insights. Like I said at first, I didn't really want to make this, but it's like whatever. I think there's still a bunch of information in here. If you have any questions, you know where to find me in the description down below or in our Discord server. And apart from that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!